Still got my Ghostbusters shirt on. So who you gonna call? After this film, probably someone else. This is a second look at Ghostbusters 2. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and ask you to subscribe before we get too much further into what may become a divisive set of opinions on Ghostbusters 2. So yeah, click that subscribe button because I asked you to. I really have no other reason. I don't know. I'd fix you a PB&J or something like that, but I can't because it's YouTube. And we don't have that kind of technology yet. So, Ghostbusters 2. We got everybody back. The gang's back together. That everybody came back for this, it seems. So, cool, right? Good for them. I'm sure they were offered more money. And that's what got everybody back. But this is one of those cases where with sequels they can either go up or they can go down. Sometimes sequels benefit a lot from the first film, from having established the world and the characters, and then they can build and then they can go further. Toy Story is a great example of this. The fact that you already know what the world is, you know who the characters are, and you know where to go from there. And another sequel that's great is X2 X-Men United. Spider-Man 2, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2 does a really good job of building on the first Spider-Man. A lot of people believe The Godfather Part 2 is better than Godfather. So it's possible. And then there are other sequels that just kind of feel like, we're making a sequel. Why? I don't know, because the first one made money. Men in Black 2 falls into this. It definitely does not surpass the first one. It's not subjective. I can't imagine anybody who would actually say that, who would actually say that the second one was better than the first one. I just think it's impossible. I don't know who that person is. I will find you. I don't know. I don't think that person exists. So yeah, this is not, I don't think there's anybody out there who thinks Ghostbusters 2 is better than 1. It's never referred to that way. I've never seen a fan who's like, oh yeah, 2 is better than 1. I love 2. Because it's not great. It's just not a great film. I haven't seen it nearly as many times as 1. This is available on Hulu without audio description if you must. We've got Frozen Empires currently in theaters. So that's why I'm revisiting the Ghostbusters franchise. And I just don't care. I didn't care when I saw this. And then rewatching it, I was just kind of reminded at the bad exposition that happens at the beginning of this film. The whole beginning, there are these weird moments where people just talk and they say things and it feels like they're put into certain scenes so that they can say things to catch people up. Instead of organically catching people up, they have to spout dialogue about how the Ghostbusters went out of business and how Sigourney Weaver's character Dana, like, I don't know, she's got a really complicated backstory. So I guess she and Peter kind of dated, and then they broke up and she went and married somebody else, and then they had a baby, and the baby is the center focus of the movie. What? Why? That's way too complicated. We don't meet the guy. Like, he doesn't come in. He's not like, where's my baby? I'm a divorced dad. I deserve to see my kid. No, there just is. And it's like, why? Why did you not just make Peter the dad? That's from the very beginning, when you're concept writing this script, why did you think this was better than that? It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I guess to like keep them as maybe it's better to see them apart as lovers. I don't know, but it's dumb. The opening sequence with the stroller rolling away, it's like, oh, there's a ghost pushing the stroller, an entity or force or whatever. Yeah, it's really hard to follow without audio description, by the way. So that scene is basically pointless. One of the best scenes in the movie, probably the most iconic scene in the movie, is the ghost train, which is really hard to follow without audio description. Um, I didn't think Ernie Hudson could have less to do, but he actually manages to have less to do in the sequel than he did in the first film. There are large chunks where you're like, where is Ernie Hudson at? Where did he go? What is he around? Oh, there he is. I think Rick Moranis is in more of this film than Ernie Hudson is. I think screen time to screen time comparison. I just, God, it's not a great movie. It has some cool moments where it makes a couple references. The plot is kind of dumb, you know. They just kind of make some references to some things, like, you know, I always feel like that painting is watching me. Oh, thanks for that. You know, heaven forbid we figure these things out for ourselves, or the fact that we keep visiting this creepy museum guy. Um, you know, like, obviously something's up with him. Otherwise, we wouldn't keep going back to him. It's just not a smart film. I don't know what happened to Ghostbusters 2. It's funny, I watched a film about the movies that made us, and it was all about Ghostbusters. I want to see the making of Ghostbusters 2. You know, I want to get into that. I want everybody to then, who just talked about Ghostbusters, to be like, and now we're talking about the sequel. And then they just go, ooh, ooh. So let me tell you about the sequel. Because I bet there's some stories. I bet they were hired. I bet they were told, you know, you have to write a script as quick as possible. I'm guessing this was put into production as quickly as humanly possible. And they rushed a script, and the script wasn't that good. It's just not a good script. You've got a lot of exposition that just kind of word vomits. Um, and a lot of awkward conversations because they shouldn't exist. There's this conversation where Dana literally just has to stand there and talk to Egon about when she's like, and this is what happened with my baby, but I don't want Peter to know. Oh, are you guys not? No, it's just to, like, give her entire backstory, and then, like, he's still like, she's not done, so he has to ask, like, continue to prod her. And I'm like, this scene is painful. This scene is awful. This is a terrible scene. The whole film is not that. There are moments in this film where they're having some fun and they're doing some busting, and that those scenes can somewhat redeem this film. They play a lot with the pink slime, and then they're like, oh, wait a minute. The twist to the film is kind of dumb, but it's, you know, I mean, it is what it is. It's hard to recreate the exact same magic. I get it. And pink slime seemed like a fun thing to play around with. The toaster scene is funny. I liked it, and there are things in here that I liked. But there are things in here that just don't work. Um, and I I get why Rick Moranis is back, because he's Rick Moranis and he was the stand-up. He doesn't really need to be back. The plot doesn't really require him. Honestly, the plot doesn't really require Dana, but the plot just pulls Dana back in here and gives her a baby. She's not dating Peter anymore. It's just, if she didn't have a baby, there would be no reason for her to be here. You know, she's not, like, it's just, if her baby wasn't, like, oddly connected somehow, um, yeah, there'd be no reason for her to be here. So it's an odd film. If you haven't seen it before, I forgive you. The world forgives you. Not every film that has a sequel is the sequel necessarily on the same level as the original. And with many franchises, even the ones that have good sequels, at some point they break the back of the franchise and they make too many. We go too far, and it just stops becoming as good, and the quality dips, and you can feel it, and that happens. So even Doesn't matter your franchise. It dipped at some point. You're just in denial. I can't really think of a franchise where there's not a quality dip of some kind, like an obvious one. Yeah, Star Trek fans, Star Wars fans, um, Marvel fans, DC fans. There's a dip in quality in everything, in all of your universes. And even if it still is where the other films are fine, like for example, Lord of the Rings, great trilogy. The Hobbit, okay trilogy. You know, um, it's Amazon TV series, debatable. We're now moving in the right direction. So I'm not saying that there's necessarily a break within the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, which was shot as one film, which really helped that. But they continued to make films in Middle Earth. They didn't stop at Return of the King. So, um, Godfather, I don't think anybody thinks part 3 is on the same level as 1 or 2. So, you know, um, Star Wars, obviously, prequel series. So even if you're like, well, the first 3 were great, perfect. All 3 films are perfect. Cool. Well, the prequel series definitely is not, and neither. There are definitely people saying that the sequel trilogy is not either, 7, 8, 9. So, and then you've got Solo and Rogue One, and I don't know. You can find a film. Star Trek. There are people who don't like the J.J. Abrams stuff. You may not. You may like the original Star Trek cast, and then feel like it peters off with when they switch to New Generation, or vice versa. Maybe you really liked it when New Generation came in, but you didn't like the other stuff. I don't know. Sometimes we make too much in a franchise. Is my point. It's funny that Ghostbusters 2 though. Yeah, it's like Speed 2, Cruise Control. We didn't need that. It's, Men in Black 2 wasn't great. We could have used the Men in Black 2. That wasn't the sequel for it. So yeah, this is disappointing of a film. It's a disappointing film, and I haven't seen it nearly as many times as I've seen the first one because of it. So I rewatched it again. It's been a while. I didn't want to. I'm just doing it as a completionist thing here. I do actually enjoy the 2016 remake of Ghostbusters more than I do this film. Yes. It's debatable. Now I'm going to rewatch within close proximity. I'm going to rewatch Afterlife and see where that feels for me, because they feel close to it. So, anyway, I don't think the actors phoned in their roles totally here. I think they just, in some scenes, they're given a script and they're like, what the fuck am I saying? And there's some scenes that just don't work. But you can tell in other scenes where they're like, oh yeah, I get this. This is fun. We're having fun here. Other scenes, it feels like they're reading dialogue and somebody handed them like a cue card. And they're like, oh, I have to legally say this? All right. So, Dana, tell me about your life. Anyway, I can't comment on the audio description because there is none. It doesn't, Hulu does not have audio description for this film. Yes, it was created at some point. However, it's been lost to time and apathy. So it's not available anywhere with audio description. I already made that case in the first film for my discussion on the first Ghostbusters. But there are obviously tons of references here that you wouldn't get with ghosts and everything. So this film is unwatchable. However, having seen this film before, trying to remember it, trying to recall it, I would say my grade that way, this being a second look and me saying, obviously I've seen this film before, I would give Ghostbusters 2 a C+. I think there's a huge dip in quality. I gave the first one an A+. So this isn't like me. I'm wearing a Ghostbusters shirt. This is not me saying I don't like the franchise. This is me going, this should have had a better. They give more time to the screenplay writing here, and stop treating Ernie Hudson like somebody forced you to have a black person in your cast. That's what it feels like. It feels in the first film it's less obvious because he kind of joins the team late, but by this film he's a Ghostbuster, and then it just feels like they don't like Ernie Hudson. It just feels like they don't want a black person in the film, so they just marginalize his character a lot, and it's so weird. He should have had a much bigger part here. He should have been way more of a part of the team, and the fact that he still is being treated like the fourth wheel is so bizarre, especially considering the amount of screen time Rick Moranis has in this film. That's unnecessary. And Sigourney Weaver. Like, they're not even Ghostbusters. He's an actual Ghostbuster. What are we doing here? Anyway, yeah, it's vaguely racist. I just uh, accused accused the production team of Ghostbusters of being vaguely racist, and I stick by that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And um, yeah, it's MacTheMovieGuy.com. You can follow me on X, Twitter, Instagram at MacTheMovieGuy. You go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description, where you can watch it. And you can go to the adna.org. That's the adna.org. And you can see who's narrating your favorite films and television series. You can also just in general lobby for audio description and just complain about the lack of audio description. Tweet at Hulu right now. They have Ghostbusters 1 and 2 without audio description. And if you really want to see these films with audio description, tweet them. Tweet them and tweet them and tweet them and tweet them. Every time you want to watch something that doesn't have audio description, just keep bitching about it. It's the best way to go about it. But that's it. I will watch something else and see you guys on the other side.